Good afternoon. My name is Benny Thompson with the Riverside Historical Society, and today we're doing an interview with Richard A. Lewis Sr.
I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, at Riverside Hospital in 1944. October 26.
Wow.
That's 80 years ago. Will soon be 81 years.
Right. And when we're talking to him today concerning the 80th anniversary of Riverside Church.
Yes.
So this is right on time.
Right on time.
Yes, sir. Tell me about your family and your background.
Well, I'm a second generation funeral director. My father was a mortician. He opened up a funeral home here in 1946. So I'm a second generation funeral director, following my father's footsteps. But I've done a few other things in the meantime. For instance, I went to Tennessee State University, left there, went to John Gutman School of Mortuary Science, left there, and I went to First American National Bank. 1968, I stayed there for 10 years, and it was at First American National Bank that I became more acquainted with the people at Riverside Hospital and South Central Conference of the SDA. So I've been around a little while.
Okay. What brought you to Riverside business-wise? Was it the just you were at the bank?
I was a banker located at 9th and Monroe at that time. South Central Conference SDA had individuals, ministers, and executives, administrators to come to their location on Young's Lane. And every time that one of them needed to open an account, to borrow money, to buy a car, to buy a house, I was the lending officer at 9th and Monroe at First American National Bank between 68 and 78. And then that same transpired when I moved to Citizens Bank, which is the oldest black bank in the country. I became the banker for a number of individuals while at Citizens Savings Bank and Trust Company too. I can remember a few names, and then others I can't remember.
What were some of the pastors that you met and that you dealt with?
C. Dudley
is,
of course, one of the ones that I met with at Riverside. Elder Pearson, I met at Riverside. Shirley Cody was not a pastor, but she was the pianist. And that's the same Shirley Cody that taught my son at the Seventh-day Adventist school behind F.H. Jenkins School. So I remember her because of that. So I've got a lot of people that I can recall and a whole lot that I can't recall that were members of Riverside, Hillcrest, Meharry SDA.
That's right.
When you talk about Meharry SDA, my uncle, whom I'm named after, his name was Mitchell Allen Lewis. I'm Richard Allen Lewis. And they were members of Meharry SDA before moving to Hillcrest SDA. And of course, they visited Riverside SDA while they were living.
This is news to me. I did not know you had that connection.
I did.
Wow.
I did.
Wow.
And I've enjoyed every moment of it. Especially when I think about Dr. Benson and my son, my oldest son, Ricky, Richard Allen Lewis II, was born at Riverside on a Sunday morning at 11:30 a.m.
So 2 different generations of your family born at Riverside, you and your son.
That is correct.
Wow, that's quite a history there.
So we've been around a pretty good while.
And did both of your sons attend F.H. Jenkins Elementary? Or
The oldest one attended F.H. Jenkins when he was under the church
Right.
on Young's Lane. And then the youngest one attended F.H. Jenkins when it was moved behind Hillcrest Seventh-day Adventist.
Boy,
How about that?
how about that, man? That is something. What were some of the programs and services that you remember about Riverside that you maybe attended? I know you work with the hospital also.
Yeah, again, when new individuals would come as the pastor, or sometimes other positions at SDA or at Riverside, they would always send them to see me at First American National Bank or Citizens Bank because I was their banker.
Yeah.
In fact, now don't ask me where it was because I may think of it in a few minutes, but I was honored on 2 different occasions by Riverside and South Central Conference of SDA. Simons, I think his name was.
N.G. Simons was
That's
that.
exactly right.
Right.
Yeah, he's one person. And then, of course, Elder Dudley. And, of course, while Joseph, Elder Charles Joseph was over at
Charlie Joe at Hillcrest.
That's exactly right. And he had a brother, Steve Joseph, and I was the banker representing First American National Bank when they built the apartments on Buena Vista. Buena Vista Apartments.
Haynes Garden.
Haynes Garden Apartments. Charlie's brother Steve was the first general manager that they had at Haynes Gardens, and I remember that so vividly. And Earl, I can't think of Earl's last name.
Earl Moore.
You right on target. Those that I forget, you know. So Earl Moore was a part of that, and that's how one of the ways that I was involved in Riverside, Haynes Gardens, and South Central Conference of SDA.
This is so amazing to me. This is much deeper involvement and more intricate than I ever would have thought.
Elder Joseph McCoy was another person
Wow.
that I remember that was there. And I can't help but think about it. Just on yesterday, Elder Fordham was the eulogist on a service there. What a man, what a man, what a man. I remember when he was pastor, and now he's moved on over to higher heights, but I remember him very well at Riverside, and as I said, a sermon that he delivered just on yesterday.
Yeah. And I want to tell you, one of those times you got honored at Riverside, when I was Sabbath school superintendent, when I first came to Nashville, we had what we call Community Guest Day. And I had just met you, U.S. citizens, and we brought you in and your family, and we honored you as a Citizen of the Year over there at Riverside that year.
That's exactly right. I told you. I couldn't think of it, but you did.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you did.
Wow.
Elder Pearson, by the way, was at Riverside, and I remember him too.
Yeah. Now, we talked before about Elder Dudley. You had a special relationship with Elder Dudley.
Yes, I
Tell us a
did.
little about that, because every time, just like now, you smile when I said his name. Tell me about, because it seems like you guys were, it just wasn't professional. There was something else there besides just the, I want to borrow some money, can you help me out? It was like you were really, really involved in the whole process and the projects.
Well, it was not only Elder Dudley, It was his spouse and his daughter, Benita. We all went back there. I guess my funeral director's part takes over here. Because as a funeral director, I had quite a number of services, an awful lot of services at Riverside. And Elder Dudley was the pastor. That's one way I got to know him real well. And it seems like every time I had a service, Elder Dudley was the person that was in charge of the service. So, and anytime he needed anything, and whatever he needed, I found a way to get it to him while I was his banker during that particular period of time. So, then, unfortunately, I was the funeral director in charge of Elder Dudley's service and Mrs. Dudley's service. So we do go back a long ways.
Wow, wow. What have you noticed over the years that have changed around Nashville, Riverside, even Adventism, and how do you, what's the perspective you take now as we sit here?
Well, you've continued to grow. Not only have you continued to grow, a lot of your members knew me. Remember, I told you I was in the funeral business. And I will never forget that one of your members needed a limousine, and they called over here and they told me who it was, and I sent it to him. And then after he passed, I was the funeral director in charge. His name was Penniman, Richard Penniman.
Richard Penniman.
Little Richard. When little Richard died, we prepared him, took care of his service, took him down to Alabama.
To Huntsville.
To Huntsville.
That's right.
That's exactly right. I'll never forget that. We had police escort from Nashville right on to Huntsville. Police, highway patrol, sheriff, every kind of escort we needed, we had when Richard Penniman died. Now, they wanted it to be low profile, and I didn't tell a lot of people about it. But we carried him there. It's on tape right now. But I'll never forget that. So I guess you might say I had the honor and the privilege of doing the final rites for Richard Penniman, better known as Little Richard.
Little Richard.
I guess my name being Richard, I couldn't hardly forget about that.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
What are some of the faith lessons that you may have learned through your association with Riverside and the people at South Central Conference that has impacted you and your family?
Now you're really getting into it. You know, when you said that, it makes me think. A lot of times people will meet me and they would say to me, "Are you a minister?" I said, "No, I'm not a minister." I said, "I thought about it at one time, but I never did it." I said, "But I got a lot of faith, blood in me." My father was Baptist. He was treasurer of his church, Watson Grove Missionary Baptist Church. My mother was Methodist, and her granddaddy were members of Lee Chapel AME Church in Nashville. Then my uncle was Seventh-day Adventist, and that brought another faith into my being. And I guess you might say I've always enjoyed all of those services, whether it be Methodist, Baptist, or Seventh-day Adventist. I've always loved the Seventh-day Adventist, though. It seems like you always had the very best of music. Elder C would invite me. I forget about him.
Russell C.
Russell C.
Yes,
That's
sir.
exactly right.
Yes, sir.
And I visited him at Riverside and across the street from the funeral home at
Hillcrest.
At Hillcrest.
Yeah.
So I love music. Before a doctor made a mistake and hit the lung genial nerve over here in my body, I used to be a soloist.
Oh, really?
And they said I could sing. So being able to sing, I love to hear other people sing. So your music has always been an attraction to me, as well as the ministers and their sermons and their messages to me. So I just feel good about what has happened throughout my life when it comes to the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
I'm going to end with this, Doc. What do you want people to know about the history of Riverside? If you had to tell someone who didn't know anything about Riverside, the history and all this, what would you
I could tell them that I remember when Riverside had a nursing school. I can tell them that I can't remember but I was born in Riverside. I can tell them that Dr. Dorothy Brown had my mother in Riverside Hospital, and I remember that. And of course, again, I remember when my son was born at Riverside. I remember when the medical building across the street from Riverside, where my wife used to go, and from where I used to...
Pagoda of Medicine with Dr. Dent?
That's right.
I have mercy.
And before that, it was Dr. Benson. So Riverside has played a great part in Nashville's history in the past, and still in the present. They're doing a great job, and I'll always remember Riverside as long as I'm living. I'll never forget Riverside Hospital and the South Central Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.